us to do this. I just wanted to put these in so it's easy for her
You feel less
to start this and go quickly through it. There you go. That should be all in order then.
All right, start the meeting now. Okay. The August meeting was Board of Water Commissioners called to order. Okay, first on the agenda, reading of the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any additions, modifications? Otherwise, ask for a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting.
I will second that.
Okay, those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Presentation of bills and accounts.
Can we postpone that till I sign off on this?
We sure can. Okay, moving on then. Cooper Lake improvements.
Two things there. One is the CDM proposal that was in the packet. Actually, it wasn't, it was distributed last month.
Right.
Right, I'm sorry. And so I had a conversation with him because I think we all had some questions. I hadn't really, I had just gotten it before the,
That's the temporary
yeah,
connection to
you showed me. Right, and so just to confirm, there were questions about that this was just to get through the permit phase, which is true. So the $78,800 is just to get us the permits and not design, but there's a strong notion that we won't really need to go into a formal design, that once we know where the DEP wants us to, what point of access is and connection, then we would be able to hire, maybe use the Cooper Lake contractor to actually make this happen. You know, as part of that contract. So we wouldn't actually need them to develop design specifications and bid documents. Let's save a little money there. Because it's really a pretty straightforward task. And we just had a conversation about this is a temporary connection. But we, at some point, we probably need to, as we get through this, make sure that we know what the delta is from this temporary connection to what it would be for a permanent connection.
Yeah, if we're going to spend the money designing, you might want to consider what it would cost to actually have a permanent connection to it, so that we can just, if there is an emergency, not go through this whole process over and over again, but just be able to call them up and say, we need water, we're going to
Yeah,
turn the switch and
yeah.
hook, hook the pipes up that aren't necessarily connected.
Right, and there, did have some discussion that maybe we would, as a first step, bring the electric in, because I really don't want us to have diesel that close to another form of power, the pumps. That they would, DEP would certainly, as I would, prefer an electric pump. And it would be easier for us to maintain, cheaper for us to kind of maintain, because we usually have to constantly be refueling and all those kinds of operation and maintenance costs. But that and the pump, we might look at a pump house, and then in the second phase, do the pipe installation. Mm-hmm. So that's another option. Joanne, I think you had a question, because in here it talked about annual fees. It's a 5-year permit that you would renew every 5 years. Once we have it in place, the renewal is really pretty perfunctory. Do you want it, don't you, whatever. And we did the application form and a $25 application fee. So the application fee itself is only $25. That was pretty obvious. But there is an annual fee. And I had both CDM and we went on the DEP website where they have their land use permit fees are there. And worst case, it would be like $1,000 a year. They're really modest fees that they charge. Obviously, if you have an easement over their land, it's a little more. But for what we're doing, it could be as little as $0 if we determine it would be temporary. So, but it's not an owner's thing. It's not like when you hear an annual fee, it's like hundreds.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's important to know that going in, because if we are going to think about doing something more permanent, and we're going to build a pad, and we're going to put a pump house on, a pump inside.
You're looking.
That's gonna be more expensive than maybe something smaller, as
Right.
opposed to making something much, much larger.
Correct.
Then the fee is gonna be higher, so
Right.
worst case scenario is $1,000 a year.
Probably for what we're talking about here, if we decide on a permanent, it might be a little bit more, but it's not an onerous amount of money
I
for
think it would even be
anybody.
worse than $1,000.
It might be, we could, as we go
I
through the
guess with the
design,
process, we'll figure that
all
find
out,
yeah.
and that might factor into your decision. The other thing is, it's, $1,500 per million gallons. So we're a 4 MGD system. That's $6,000 a day for water,
$1,500.
per million gallons right now. So that could change with their rate structure. But I believe that's what it is right now. So that's another factor,
So
what-
is that what Newburgh's paying?
I have no idea. I know that rate structure's on their website.
Okay.
We'll do it. So yeah, that's,
So what more do we need to do?
we need to authorize this if you want them to move forward with this.
And that's at that 78,
E,
8.
price tag, yeah. I mean, we haven't had, cost overruns on one of their projects for engineering is pretty limited. I mean, they tell you they're gonna do something unless there's some unforeseen condition, that's what we get billed.
And one other question, they talk about the scope of services under the field investigations.
Yep.
Topography survey.
Yep,
Does DEP have any of that they could just access?
they might.
I mean, as opposed to going out and hiring a surveyor to do something, I can't imagine DEC doesn't have a lot of that data that's available.
They might, they might.
So, I mean,
I think the field survey and the GI, well, certainly we can ask if they're willing to share. That's a little bit less that we have to do. I know they have GIS data, whether they have an actual survey with elevations and whatever. But they might,
the survey is $11,000.
correct.
So, I mean,
Right, if you can save some money there, that's great.
so I mean,
I'll check.
we need to allocate this tonight, or we at a point in time where we can
Well,
push this off until we get,
They're not going to be done when the design's done, if that's the case. I mean, this is, the permit process is going to take some time because of the back and forth with DEP and their bureaucracy.
well, is there some way that we can pass something? I mean, we have a conversation with them to see how they can
If the,
cost savings on
if
some
they
of
can
this.
reach out to the city and get some of this done, I don't think this is a lump sum contract. I think that they'd be more than happy to, the actual survey is 7,600, and then there's, we certainly can ask, and I'm sure if it's lower, they're gonna bill us lower. This is a cost not to exceed.
Okay.
And I will talk to Tom about that, when we leave here.
And the second part of this whole thing with Cooper Lake is getting something from Schnabel regarding the cost benefit about how low we have to go.
That's what the meeting on Fridays, and I'm going up there on Friday morning. They've run some scenarios with the yield analysis that they did first previously. Some scenarios are with the town of Ulster online, with the town of Ulster offline, with $2 million from DEP, and then we have to look at the net analysis, the cost benefit on that. So I'm making the trip up, excuse me, up there on Friday morning because that's less expensive than them coming down here with 5 engineers. They don't have any access to the server from here to be able to answer questions and pull things up. And they also can Skype in the rest of their team, which is in Pennsylvania and Virginia. So So it was just easier for me when I grabbed Debbie to run along.
Mhm.
If
And
anybody wants to ride along, you're more than welcome.
there's nothing in here that you think Debbie could do
No.
to lower the cost?
No, she does. They're looking for a certified, I think they're looking for a stamp, a survey stamp.
Okay, I mean, I'm just talking part of the permitting and stuff.
No.
No?
That's, they have, and the truth is, Tom and I went through the permitting process to a certain point. We were, last time, in 2012. And they have a person on their staff, and they do this for communities all the time, and so that it'll be much easier. And then I need them to do some of the analysis anyway.
Okay, well, guess what's the board's pleasure here in regards to going forward with this
Well,
contract?
the whole thing, are we talking about the whole thing or this first,
Just the first.
just the first?
I'm okay
I
with
think
it.
it makes sense that we should go forward with CDM Smith to do the design of this connection.
Okay,
And it's a cost not to exceed of $78,800. So I will talk to him about what's readily available and what they can utilize and see if we can kind of lower any of these costs.
okay. So I need, I guess, a motion to approve this contract.
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the proposal from CDM Smith for the engineering of that connection to the Shokin.
Okay,
I'll second it.
second that. Obviously, there's no, any more discussion. Those in favor? Opposed? And carried. Is there anything else on Cooper Lake other than those two things?
No, other than that meeting that we're going to work for on Friday.
What time are you going up?
10 o'clock. We'll be back by 12. Oh, we'll leave there by 12, we'll be back here by 11:30. Yeah, just because,
I don't want to ride either, so I'll let you know.
That's all right, that's fine. I just drag Debbie along because any discussions or decisions are going to impact the plant.
Mhm.
And Derek's on vacation this week, so he can't go. So I felt more comfortable having somebody from the plant that would, kind of just be focused on that instead of the bigger picture. And Debbie's always good for that.
Scada System, next on the agenda.
Yeah, everybody got Tom's recommendation there and my explanation. Tom and I had quite a bit of back and forth, and Bill was included in all that. We received 2 bids, just to kind of summarize. The engineering estimate for construction was
90 you have here?
Yeah, 790, I have it right in front. 791, 500 actually, if you, I rounded. And so we had one bid that came in at $557,252.39. Their bid package, as Tom indicated, was complete. It's a reasonable bid within their estimate, and they are the folks that worked on the Scada system at our treatment plant during the last upgrade. So we have a real personal relationship and experience with them, not a relationship, but experience with them. And we know that they're a solid company, and they were very responsive, because anytime you do something, there's little things you gotta tweak, and they were very responsive, and we got things resolved quickly. The second company was Armani Consulting Corporation, and their bid was $190,337.73. And the problem, I mean, and I have talked to, Armani has done a considerable work down at the Poughkeepsie Water Treatment Plant. They find them to be reliable, they like their work. I've seen their SCADA outputs, what their screens look like, they're pretty nice. But their bid was very unorthodox, it was missing a lot of pieces. It was, they didn't include the bid form, which was a requirement. And I certainly understand that you could put in your own reasonable facsimile with all the major elements. But when you review that bid form, there's the core, which Tom estimated to be like $400,000 worth of work, and PCS estimated to be at 300 and some odd thousand dollars. That was totally missing from their bid.
Yeah.
So that was a concern. They didn't acknowledge receipt of any addendums. And as you look through the verbiage in their bid, it appeared as if they kept referring to a sewer system SCADA project. Near as we could tell, they likely got two bids that were due at the same time, and they shuffled them. It was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
unfortunate, because, but, so based on that, I think there's a consensus that there's so much missing from their bid that it's really non-compliant and unresponsive.
That's too bad.
It
That we
is.
didn't get
Yeah.
two bids.
Yeah,
We
you
really
have
only
to.
have, we really.
Now, I
only
mean,
have
we happen to know that, PCS performed well for us on the previous project.
And they seem reasonable for what was projected for the amount, so
They're-
it looks like it's fine.
They're
Yeah.
they're almost $200,000
Yeah.
lower.
Yeah.
It was over, that would be a different situation.
Right, and then you might want to rebid it, making some changes here or there, and give the other. The good news about this is that, the grant was only $790,000. Of that, we really only have $650, because $100,000 was already used and earmarked for engineering. I think they've spent maybe $92,000 of that $100,000, so we're very close to that limit. And bottom line is, this bid gives us only a $69,000 shortfall, because we're $192,100 is earmarked for CDM to do the full program.
What is the shortfall again?
69,
Okay.
so it's not much,
Oh, yes, I see it right there.
it's not a whole lot,
Okay.
the shortfall.
How much was the bid, how much was the bond for?
The grant was for $790,000.
Yeah,
Of that, $100,000 has already been earmarked for engineering. Of that, $92,000 has already been spent.
okay, so we have almost $700,000 left,
Right.
698.
192,100 of that, so just shy of 200,000,
Okay,
is for programming. So there's construction, materials,
okay.
and then there's the programming to make it all fit together. And so we had a discussion previously that it really makes sense, even if you don't purchase the equipment and do the installation at some of these sites, get all the programming done now, and then it's just plug and play for the rest. So when you add all those things up, we have a 69,000 and change shortfall, and we can make some decisions about what we want to eliminate, or we can down the road make a decision that we just want to, take the money out of capital and forge ahead. And there's an estimated, I don't know what they're doing again, an estimated, maybe it's here. I think it's $57,000 that they put in for the Golden Hill Pump Station and Tank. And that's something that I am going to entertain a conversation with the county to see if maybe they would like to fund that, because that is their system. And I think they might be receptive to that, because we've had some issues lately with telemetry. We run their system, but they maintain their pumps and their tanks and those controls. And when, I don't know if anybody read in the Freeman, they had that lightning strike and knocked out 911. Well, it also knocked out the controls between the pump station and tank. They almost ran out of water. Nobody ran to check. So the pumps never called for water, and they just, anyway. So this would be a way for that not to happen again, because our plant's monitored 24/7. There's somebody there, and we would know when something like that happened.
And that Golden Hill pump station tank it's owned by the county.
Correct. Correct. So I want to just begin discussions, and I think they might be open to, especially in next year's budget, that they might be open to funding, and that would bring the shortfall down, like.
To almost nothing.
So I think this is all good news. So I was kind of pleased by that. So we need a motion, if you're so inclined, to award the bid to PCS. It's a real name, PCS Pump and Process Incorporated.
Sounds like it.
Yep, it sounds like it's,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
I'll make the motion.
Joanne makes the motion to accept the bid.
Yes, I will make the motion to accept the bid for, let me just, okay, Yeah,
$557,252.39 or 38 cents?
39, I believe.
Is that where you had, you said there was a 1 cent difference someplace?
No, it's 39 cents. I mean, you have to take what they wrote.
Okay,
It's here and it's here.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So I have a second?
I would
Peg?
second that.
Okay, those in favor?
um,
Okay. Carried. So you'll be notified by either you or...
Tom Lawson will do that. Although Armani's called her as late as after 4 o'clock today, Jane answered the phone, they were chatting with her.
Okay, are you gonna explain to them why they weren't?
That's Tom will take care of all that, yeah.
Okay.
And if, if he doesn't want to do it, I certainly would. That's usually part of their service. The other good thing that I want to add to that is there will be, usually there's design services during construction. There will be none since they're doing the programming, and they'll just assume that as they do it. So that's all included in that $192, Normally, we get a proposal to do, design services during construction. And, we don't really need to deal with that because of the nature of this contract.
Okay. So then the next process after that,
Notice to proceed, I mean,
okay,
they have to get their bonds and all those things, Bill has to review them, but, then we have to sign a contract, and then they start, mobilization. In this case, this is telemetry and electronics. There's no construction season issues. There's no, it's all really taken in and install some equipment.
is there actual construction that has to be taking place? Okay.
This is all our existing facilities, and it's all computer stuff.
Okay, but you said the 192 was for programming.
Yeah. And
The other stuff is,
construction is actually running wires, locating, their switches and their whatever stuff.
we got confused when you said the rest of it was construction, but then there wasn't any construction. So
Well, no, I mean, it's not traditional construction, bricks and mortar, pipes in the ground. There's certainly a lot of wire work, a lot of electrical instrumentation.
Okay. Moving on, Binnewater UPS installation project.
I'm happy to say, we are done, except for the paperwork and the as-bills. It was a struggle, but we're there. Yeah, the last chapter,
So the fire pump and everything is...
all there, that's all, that work is definitely complete. We're just working on my recollection is earlier this morning, there was an email that went back and forth that the engineer approved the shop drill, the as-built, that Jim submitted for the fire pump.
Did we ever figure out from the previous submission who was at fault on that?
It's really Jim.
Jim, did we ever find out from that, when we did all the work up at Binnewater, why the connection for the fire pump or whatever it
It
was?
was a code violation to move the fire.
You know
pump.
that?
We know that.
Whose fault was it?
Well, whose fault was it? Why didn't the original engineer or contractor pick that up, or why did that, because that whole work was all done there.
We have to get now part of the finalization with CDIs for them to come back and tell us the price with the
Request
racing,
cure.
with the cures. If you remember, that we were waiting to hold off and get the price. You gotta go back to the history. At one time, he put an item in the contract originally that was gonna be specifically for the code violation to eliminate it. We decided, no, let's get the price from Aracy, oh no, the low bidder, who happened to be Aracy. And now that we have it, he did perform the work. We can now get that through Aracy, through CDI, who recommended that in their report to the board back in January of 2017 to get that number. Then at that time, the board can make a decision to go after Arcadis and say, it's your fault, it cost the board, whatever, $2,000, whatever it is, to make this correction. And it's up, then it's gonna be maybe a letter to them, see if they're willing to do it. Bill's gonna have to get involved if they say no, and we'll take it from there. But this is part of the closure now, the paperwork with CDI. They still have to do the punch list CDI, they still have to do the commissioning. So once they have the commissioning done, we can get a number from CDI through a RACI, what that number is, then the board can make a decision whether or not you want to pursue it further.
Okay, I just don't want to, I don't want that, I don't want to lose that. I mean, it bothers you that you spend all that money to a design engineer, and then you have somebody else come back in and say there's a violation and you have to fix it. And they get away with not paying or creating the problem, so let's not lose that.
So is the work done? It's done.
It
It's
is.
done, but it's not.
Work is done, the actual work is done, but the paperwork to close all that out is in process, and just coming, you know, it's like the closeout of the project. And one of the things we'll get is the cost to correct that violation.
Say you're all done with the auditing of things? Jump
Yes.
back up and do presentation of bills and accounts? I guess I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the bills and accounts.
Anyone want to second that?
Okay, those in favor? Opposed? Okay, carried. Transmission main rehab project.
I had a chat with Tom about this morning. We are certainly at the 90% completion. I think I previously told you that it had already been submitted to DOH. He confirmed to me this morning that they haven't done it yet.
Okay.
For no reason other than his workload, and it just hasn't been done. It'll be done in the next 2 weeks. And he'll provide me with a schedule when I get back from vacation. I'm on vacation next week, but when I get back that following week, we'll have a schedule for, you know, where obviously we can't say for certain when DOH will approve this. But we have a reasonable and then a time frame.
So you expected to go to DOH when?
Next 2 weeks, he's, you know, should go next week actually, because I said to him, if you have anything that I need to sign, and there is an application that I have to sign, send it to me now, and he's going to send it to me tomorrow. He'll get everything cleaned up and polished off and send it up the property.
Now, they're also working on this, the second part of that is the relining, right? Is there anything special?
No, we want to see what these bids come in at,
First? Okay.
because that may be all there is to say. The other thing we want to do is, it's much easier for them to design the relining if we go up there with, and TV, you know, send a camera through. And the engineer's office has agreed to do that for us. And in my personal time frame is to do it for Ralph Lee's.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's leaving at the end of September.
Now, that line is not being used?
No, that service, no.
Okay. So we're only, out of the 2 lines coming down, then we're only using 1 line.
Well, we only ever really use one
One
line.
line.
So, I mean, it was a different line, but we only ever,
You only use 1.
we only come into the plan on one line because of the chlorination that we do, and this just extended where we switched over. So it's just a longer thing.
Oh, okay.
But it's really not hurting operations. It's not diminishing our capacity. It's just, it's a redundancy issue. If something happens to the other main,
Okay.
then we have another problem to deal with.
Johnson's control reader boy.
All right, you and I chatted a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean,
Everybody got,
questions?
well, and I submitted some of those questions to Jonathan Gunn there. I told him that we wanted, here were my questions. I think I summarized some of Jane's questions. He in return has asked for us to, we're saying that, you know, this meter was 8%
slow, it was 8% accurate, 92% slow, and we now have a quarter, 2 quarters on it, how come we don't see any uptick? He wants that information so that he can convince himself that we're not making it up, I guess. And so we're doing it, or that we're not looking at it incorrectly. And then I told him that it was the board's preference to schedule a meeting in September. Outside of the context of our regular meetings, everybody could focus on just that and not have 12 other items. And so he's gonna, if anybody has dates that are good, bad, or indifferent, and Joanne, I'm looking at you because I know you have some of the Jewish holidays off.
I do.
And so if you want
I
to,
have Monday and Tuesday, Rosh Hashanah,
Okay.
and
and maybe
the next week, I think Monday and Tuesday again. It's like through first 2 weeks of school or 3 days.
Okay.
So 3
So it's
weeks.
early September then?
Yeah, the Rosh Hashanah, let's see, right after Labor Day, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever dates those are, let me look. And then off Monday and Tuesday, and then the following week off Monday and Tuesday.
Right, so I mean, if that's agreeable to everybody else, one of those dates in there would certainly make it easier for Joanne to just participate.
Okay.
Now, the downside of that is you're gonna lose Harold.
For Rosh Hashanah, and I wonder if he'll do a Yom Kippur. If it's-
Probably
Well,
losing more on Yom Kippur, wouldn't you?
I,
Yom Kippur,
well, the one,
more, that's
it's,
more holy of the holidays.
yeah, but it's like the New Year for the, I don't know, at least the people.
I certainly can ask him before we get back to them,
Yeah.
it would certainly.
Well, maybe you can send an email out and
I will.
try to get everybody's
I'll do
dates.
that.
I mean, normally, so, you know, I don't have any real restrictions. If it's in
We
the
did
after-
17th is better for me, probably the 10th.
I'll see what his, you know, what his preference is. I know last year you went to his niece's house for one of those holidays.
Right.
Going back to Philadelphia, family thing.
So you're still gonna send information down to them, and maybe I can come in and go sit down with Jane or somebody, you, and
Yeah,
go over some of the stuff. I mean, even just trying to figure out, because you and I talked.
well, I don't know where they got these numbers from, and
Right.
that's, he has to do that. He has to tell me where he got these numbers from, what went into those numbers, what's the mix, sewer, water. I really want to know what the gallons are.
Yeah, his numbers, they also use, they increase our rates every year too in those numbers. If you notice.
And
If you make that, you know.
I didn't look at that, because if you're looking at, if $260,000 pays the bond in year one, it's gonna keep paying the bond moving forward regardless of what we do with rates, unless we decrease.
But in that report,
Yeah, they do.
they do.
They do.
They increase their rates, and I'm thinking, well, we can increase our own rates.
No, but that's just their assumption.
Their assumption that we're gonna make that much more money when our rates increase by
Correct.
2%.
Exactly.
They have a real habit of summarizing everything. And just giving you
But
the
the
summary.
numbers don't show it. I mean, and what I'm saying, and you know, we've got 1A, 1B, 2, and 3. There's no difference.
So
That's what they say, it's slow, we should get this.
we're gonna put that information together over the next couple of weeks, and we'll send it up to them, and then, you know, and I said to him, with their conference call, you want to come down, what I don't want is a slick PowerPoint presentation.
And it's being measured, you know, as you use, people use water.
I mean, we know what, out of our,
It's not,
the number of meters, the 5/8 and 3/4 inch meters, we know like how much, what our average usage is on a meter? Is
well, we say like 7 units per person per quarter. If you know how many people are in the house, but
Okay,
everybody's so
but-
different.
well, we might, okay,
But you, so you have to look at the accounts individually
yeah.
and see what they've used. I mean, there's no other way to see it. I mean, so this account uses 7 units and it continues to use 7 units.
Is there any way through your system to get us a rough average of what, you know, you
All
know,
those accounts.
5/8 inch, 5/8 is a normal domestic.
There's 6,000 of them.
Right, but even if you took
I
a
mean, there's a lot.
representative and got an average, I mean, because this one here, of the 66 they pulled, it was 91.29% accurate. So we're losing 9%. Well, 9% is how much money? Is it that much money or not? Is it
Well,
really worth?
exactly, we may be able to pull some information. I used to do that before munis. I used to be able to see a breakdown of where in the rate structure, how many accounts there were in each one.
That too.
We could probably do that and work with that. And, today's
And
Wednesday.
you have a handle on knowing when, if you
Okay,
see
no.
something that's normally 10 units every quarter, and all of a sudden it's 4 units,
Right.
She sends the guys out to
then
look.
you're out there on it, so it's,
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know, if replace every single meter in the city, because we're 92%, we're losing 8% of our accuracy.
And more than half tested fine.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
More
So we
than
had
more than half.
150,
Right.
76 were good.
Yeah.
74 weren't,
So
so
we-
right there.
I'm sorry, well, I asked them to, don't give me dollars, because we can do the dollars. Give me how many gallons you think we're
Right.
getting back and where those breakdowns are, and then we can figure out if it's cost effective for us. And because I think they've made an assumption that it's an equal split water and sewer. Well, sewer's gonna benefit a lot more than we are because it's a flat rate. And there's one example with St. Joseph's School. Their meters stopped, we know that, stopped back in January. They have a large meter, 3-inch meter, it's 150 units. They never hit that, they're like, maybe they were 30. Now, when you figure out how slow that meter is, you're gonna recover 60, say it was 50. They're still gonna be paying that minimum bill, we're not gonna see $1 more coming into this office. But the sewer department's gonna double in their revenue. So I need to know the gallons and we can
Yeah.
figure out what the cost effectiveness is.
Yeah.
I don't have enough information to delve into that and break that down. And I know what Jane sees, I'm not denying that, I mean, she sees what she sees.
Okay. So,
Let's just say no one's called to complain that their bill went up.
No,
And that's what they said too. You're gonna get calls, and I'm thinking, all right, we'll see. But no one's called.
okay. So you'll figure out a time, we'll,
yeah, I'll send out an
Arrange a
email
meeting.
asking, I know Harold's away right now, but I'll send,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's on his emails.
okay. Correspondence?
I have one letter that came in this morning, but it needs to be deferred discussion until we get into executive session because it involves our union negotiations.
Okay. Superintendent's report?
Any questions for me?
I have one question, something I probably should have picked up. The second quarter of 2017
Yeah,
is awful low
yes
compared,
it is.
is that accurate?
It's always the second quarter of this year. It seems like that quarter, the same second quarter.
Oh, the second quarter this year, no.
That's Ryan. Last year Ryan got the quarters out of sequence a little bit for well-intentioned reasons. And one quarter was really short and one was long, and so it kind of messed things up.
Okay, because, I mean, I'm looking at, everything here, from the last 4 quarters are all,
Yeah,
360, 396, 375, and the second quarter of last year, just to compare against the second quarter of this
Oh,
year, was
I'm looking at-
245.
I'm looking
It's like
at the
a
consumption, not the.
no,
Yeah.
what?
Production.
Well, that's production. You're looking,
Well, I'm more concerned, I'm
You're
looking at production.
Yeah.
I
I
can't
mean-
tell you why that's that way. I can go back and have them check it, but that's what the report, what their totals show.
I mean, consumption is somewhat closer, but.
It is, but there's one quarter there that's much lower, and that's because Ryan read one large zone too early and one went too late, and so the numbers got messed up.
Okay,
Overall, on balance on the year, we came out okay.
okay. So can I have a motion to accept the superintendent's report?
I'll make the motion to accept the superintendent's.
Second?
Second?
Second, those in favor? Opposed? Carried? Okay.
Can we talk about Tech City real quick?
Yeah, we can.
Just, that's all been resolved, I think, if everybody agrees with
It seemed like,
You didn't tell me.
I didn't. Actually, I did, if you read your board packet, it's all in there. But you just mentioned it. It's all right.
It seems like they were paying all the penalties previously. They just
Right here.
this
You know, I have to say, we have been advised to keep a close eye on those, and Jane has done that. And mentioned to me that they were never in arrears, and all of a sudden now they're 2 months behind. And I chatted with Bill about it, as I do with most of the stuff. And I reached out to them, and they offered no explanation, but they said that, you know, by Friday, this was last Friday, by Friday, we would have everything but what they owe for August, or for July, which is not due till the end of August, and that the one late charge that he forgot to calculate, they'll catch it up then. And they just need, and I was kind of very nice.
So they're all back up
Well, we haven't gotten the check yet.
for
Right.
the one that's due August 20th.
Yes, we should have everything, other than the penalty from, I think it was April that they
When are they gonna pay the penalty for April?
he's gonna, instead of issuing a new check through his bank, he's gonna pay it when he pays
Pays
that
this
August,
one?
yeah, in August, yeah. One is due August 31st, 20th. Just give me some.
and when is he gonna pay the other one? By this Friday, right?
Yes.
August.
August 20th.
It takes, and he sent us the transmission through the
It
bank.
says here it's due August 20th.
Okay.
You know, by the contract, they have 15 days, but
Okay.
we, as a practical matter, have always given the end of the month. It's just easier for us to track it instead of Jane having to look at an odd day in the month. Well, I sent the bill out on the 2nd, you know, I faxed it to him, and so that means that's on the 17th. We just go by the end of the month, and she's looking at it.
Okay.
Need a motion?
No.
I think probably it's better not, I think.
No, I don't think we need any motions, you're just updating us in regards to this
Right.
outstanding,
Exactly.
And I told him that it really wasn't up to me, but I thought that the board would accept what we had worked out. And I let him know if that was any
well,
good.
they're basically paying everything,
They're basically catching the count.
Catching up. I mean, it'd be no different than someone else who's behind on payment and finally,
Except we can't renew the property, and
Right,
I don't, they're close to foreclosure on some of these, you know, and what I don't want is to have us into them for $30,000 and have the county just not pay us. Because that's what's gonna end up with the
Yeah.
property. I wanna stay current and limit our losses.
so, motion to go into executive session,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
okay?
You're gonna, okay. Jane's gonna leave just because it involves union
Right.
negotiations, and she's in the union, and